Sometimes, in the middle of hardship, God gives us a glimpse of His goodness, just enough to keep us walking by faith. This is a true story about provision, protection, and the quiet miracles that unfold when you trust Him completely. After being suspended without a date to return, I took a break and went deer hunting with my father-in-law. One of the things I enjoy about hunting is being outside in God's country, watching things come alive as the sun comes up. I get to spend time talking to God and just reflecting on life and the current situations it brings while out there. The suspension came during bow season, so I was out in the field doing just that. I would walk to the stand in the dark, rest, then pray just before the sunrise. One morning after prayer, I looked up and could see a large-bodied deer. However, it was still dark and I couldn't see the details of the deer, therefore I had to let it walk away. A day or two later, I was sitting in the same stand. After sunrise, I looked down and saw the biggest buck I had ever seen while hunting. I drew my bow back and waited for him to step into range. As soon as he did, I let the arrow fly. The arrow struck the deer and he ran away. As I took my first step down the ladder, I noticed a doe walking out of the woods from the same location as the buck. Not realizing where I was in relation to the ground, I let go of the ladder with the intention of drawing back my bow to shoot. That's when things got interesting. As soon as I let go of the ladder, I began to fall and immediately blacked out. I woke up on the ground and checked to make sure I hadn't punctured myself. As I sat up, I noticed that the doe was still there, looking at me. As I stood up, I realized that my head hit the ground so hard that I was seeing double and had to lean against my stand just to remain standing. Being in this shape, I had no business shooting at the deer, so I just waved my hands at her and told her to leave. I walked up to where I had shot the buck and found my arrow. Looking at it, I realized the shot was not accurate and didn't do enough damage to harm the animal. Apparently, it hit his shoulder and bounced off. I stood there for a while trying to recover from my fall and thanked God not just for saving my life as I fell, but for letting me see the biggest deer I had ever seen. Just as I turned to walk away, out came a small herd of doe. They walked out into the middle of the open field and stopped to look at me. As I was staring at them, out walked the same buck into the middle of the field. He turned to look at me and paused for what seemed like forever. I just stood there in amazement and appreciated the last look before they all walked off into the woods. As I walked away, I realized how serious my fall could have been. Instead, I was walking out with a slight case of whiplash. 2 weeks after my suspension, I called my job to ask when I was supposed to return. They asked me to come in. That is when they decided to fire me. While I walked out without a job, there was a weight that was removed from my chest. I felt that I passed the test and was ready to move on. The only problem was that it was the end of November and nobody was hiring. I went home, jumped on the computer, and filed for unemployment. You know it's bad when the unemployment website asks if you were terminated from one of 2 or 3 companies and your former employer is on that list. The day I got fired, my wife found a job making about $10 an hour. Our youngest was in grade school and our oldest was doing high school online, so my wife was willing to enter the job market again. She did it with enthusiasm and was very happy to help out. While I appreciate this from her, it was heartbreaking for me, but I knew I would find another job eventually. My goal was to find a job before I received my first unemployment check, but that didn't happen. We were approaching the 1st of December, and while unemployment and my wife's new income helped, we were definitely short when it came to monthly expenses. We didn't have any savings, but we did have a mortgage, car payment, and motorcycle payment due every month. Of course, I began to pray and ask God for a job and help paying all the bills. I was willing to take any job that God gave me. I wasn't sure what that would look like, but He was there for me before, and we had faith He would do it again. This is when things got interesting. My job paid me every 2 weeks, so I did have one last check coming. That combined with my unemployment and my wife's income, we could make it through December. Of course, this would leave us nothing to spend for Christmas, but that was fine. I did ask God for one more thing. You see, I really enjoy Christmas. Where we lived, it rarely snowed, and I could count on one hand the number of times it snowed on Christmas. So, I asked the Lord for a white Christmas. I told him that all of this would be worth it if we could just enjoy a white Christmas. As the month marched forward, I had a friend reach out and invite me to lunch. After we ate, he told me that he had a gift for me. He pulled out a check and handed it to me. He said it was to help us out and to buy some gifts for the kids for Christmas. He told me this was a true gift and that he would be seriously offended if I ever tried to pay him back. I managed to hold it together until I got to the car, and then I lost it. I was so thankful that I burst into tears. I'm talking a full, ugly cry. God had come through again. A week or so later, my old boss asked me to lunch. After we ate, she said her and her husband wanted to help us get something for the kids for Christmas, and she handed me a check. This time I tried to refuse, but she said if I denied this blessing, that I was denying any blessing that God was going to give them for blessing me. I was shocked. We not only had enough money to pay the bills for the month, but money to buy the kids Christmas presents. It was pretty cool. Right after this, I learned that my old employer decided to fight my unemployment. They fired me, but didn't think I should get unemployment. This was just hateful. I couldn't believe it. I asked, what happens if they win? I was told if they won, not only would I not get unemployment, but I would have to pay back everything that I had received. I think it was at this time that I found an unemployment attorney and spoke to him about suing the company for wrongful termination. I met with an assistant of his, but she said they would talk and eventually let me know if he would take my case or not. So this was additional stress that I did not see coming. I had some questions for the Unemployment Commission that I had to answer to address the company's request for denying my unemployment benefits. I did this immediately, and the commission sent my response to the company. They were given a few days to respond, and if memory serves me correctly, a call was scheduled a couple of days before Christmas. As we were about 2 weeks away from Christmas, the weathermen on the nightly news began to talk about a very small % chance of snow on Christmas. I feel they do this almost every year to get people excited, and sometimes there's a 10% chance of snow that never develops. I told my wife that I had prayed for a white Christmas. I think she told me that she had done the same because she knew how much I would enjoy it. As we approached Christmas, the weathermen were increasing the chances of snow. Then came the day for the unemployment call. I was nervous and had no idea what to expect. I jumped on the conference call, prepared for battle. The state employee told me that the company never responded to my answers and allegations. What does that mean? I asked. He said, well, it means you won your case. I thanked him and hung up, dropped to my knees and thanked the Lord. Then came the cherry on top. The news was talking about a possible blizzard on Christmas Eve, and they were predicting deep snow for our area. Again, we get more ice every year than actual snow. Then it hit. We had so much snow on Christmas Eve that it practically shut the state down with blizzard conditions. It broke a record for snowfall on that day that was over 100 years old. My family and I were stuck in the house and enjoyed every bit of it. Once again, God had delivered and gave us a Christmas we will never forget. If you're in a season where things feel uncertain or unfair, I hope this story reminds you that God sees you. He knows what you need, and sometimes He'll even send a snowstorm to prove it. Stay faithful. Keep praying. Miracles still happen.